as counter picks. But let's see this pick a man base. We talked about banning Cannon against Hanzo.
Yeah, also an expected ban to see from G2 would be the Lee Sin, trying to keep Svenskeren down, and then maybe even more targeting onto Hanzo with something like Fizz or something like that for the top lane split pushing options.
Another ban here now against the mid lane. We have LeBlanc first against Perks, and Talia against Bjergsen. Bjergsen blind picked the Talia when we had TSM on blue side, but now he's obviously looking for a counter pick in that mid lane.
And it has been really interesting because Talia has found a lot of success. The roaming power has been very big, getting off that early shove and then being able to affect side lanes.
Now, I think what TSM are trying to do here is put Lee Sin and Iron both in the game and then say, we need to trade these. Iron gets removed by G2, so they should actually look for a Lee Sin first pick, despite it not being that big of a champion for Trick.
Exactly. I think that TSM actually kind of happy with the way that they're manipulating this one, just taking out most of the shields. All these shields that G2 have been using for those compositions where they're protecting Sven, a lot of them off the table now. And as you said, Lee Sin is very big for Svenskeren, but not quite as big of a power pick from G2, so it's mostly a takeaway if they did go for it.
Yeah, it is almost purely a takeaway here. Graves would have been the #1 pick for Trick. Svenskeren can still pick that one up, so I actually like the trade here for TSM. They don't actually lose anything by giving Lee Sin to G2.
Right, it's very interesting. They get to trade equivalent power junglers, generally speaking, again, the Lee Sin Graves trade, and yet get something else now at the next pick. They can wait to grab the Graves as well. You can get it on the 3rd pick on Red Set if you're not worried about mismatched lanes, and they can get 2 power picks here while still matching jungle.
The next level I'm looking at as well is that high priority. Oh my goodness, actually stealing away. Talk about takeaways. This is definitely a Mythy special, not necessarily a TSM, power pick for themselves. Another takeaway here.
This is a champion we have seen picked quite a few times, especially against Lee Sin, because you do deny some of that playmaking potential in the late game where you want to single out a carry, but Tahm Kench does sacrifice a bit of the laning phase, which could now go heavily in favor of Sven and Mythic.
That's definitely true, and what he gets for sacrificing that lane phase is tremendous ability to roam in the mid game. The ultimate of Tahm Kench was one of the most powerful changes that they made to this champion with those rounds of buffs, and add an Elise onto that, a lot of pick potential.
Yeah, this Tahm Kench was used against TSM yesterday by Flash Rolls and actually was really successful at finding these picks. Now, that's the thing about Tahm Kench. If you have a split pushing top laner, this man can then join that top laner very easily and make sure you win that side lane.
It's very interesting seeing these picks come through because the Graves not seeing it. Also, the early pressure jungler for Sven like this Elise here as well. Another Braum into the Tahm Kench, just what we saw TSM do yesterday. Actually, it seems like teams like this matchup, and Lucian to go alongside is a great laning phase.
Let's remember this Lucian is a flex pick. Yes, we haven't seen it yet as a mid laner, but we know it's been played in solo queue quite a lot by these guys. And by picking it this early, you still threaten that potential mid lane Lucian.
It is definitely possible to flex it mid. My favorite iteration of Lucian mid, though, is when paired with an Ivern jungle, because he can then both get red and blue buffs, and it adds a lot more power there. A little bit slightly less as far as mid lane goes for me without that pick, but definitely still a possibility.
We also get Jace coming in here from TSM, also a flex pick, top and mid lane. We know Hanzo wants to be on a champion where he can carry from the top side, where he can try and split push. We know G2 Esports wants to try and avoid that matchup going in favor of Hanzo. That is why Jace as a flex here is actually very smart. Because worst case for Hanzo, he just gives it to Bjergsen.
Another intelligent ban here from G2, the Varus. Wild Turtle's really been favoring that. TSM really early priority on that champion in previous picks bans. It actually surprised a lot of people.
Now, Syndra or Iana are still available as blind picks if G2 wants to take one of those to the mid lane. Sven is an old Lucian main, like many of the AD carries have been at some point. And it is a G2 Esports saying, screw the late game drafts. We actually want early game fights, like we saw against SKT in the very first game that they played here at MSI.
Fizz going off the table does leave a Rumble as an option. We have seen Hanzo play a good Fizz earlier on in this one, but see what we get out of this one. Ash, the early hover, maybe back to Jhin, and again with Varus off the table, you'd expect to see one of these utility carries out of Wild Turtle, but they might need that top laner first.
Yeah, definitely locking in the Rumble here is a high priority. Getting the extra magic resist to counteract the Jace attack damage from mid lane. Bjergsen has played a lot of Jace in that mid lane, and getting Hanzo another damage threat from the opposite damage type is very important.
But this pick order actually means TSM don't really get to counterpick the solo laners. And very often on red side, you're aiming to counterpick solo laners as often as possible.
But one of the biggest things is that Fizz that was banned out by G2 is one of the best into the Rumble.
Right.
And I feel like Hanzo feels very comfortable with the field available.
Definitely agree on that one, but I also think G2 are saying, you know what? It's fine. Rumble is not a massive split pusher. It actually forces TSM to play team fights now. They take a tank in Gragas top lane and say, let's just match the team fight.
Which lets them use Sven as that key player where their bot lane's supposed to look good, Braum, Lucian, insane dual lane Sven. Inarguably a better player than Wild Turtle, and a 5-on-5 is exactly what Sven wants.
And it looks like TSM are shaping up to have a very early siege potential here. You know, Rumble can use the ultimate to push them off of the turret. Jace comes through with a lot of hope. This is definitely early game oriented TSM.
And also early game from G2, honestly, with Lee Sin, the Braum, Lucian bottom lane. Like, both these teams can obviously team fight later in the game, very explosive fights from both sides. But there's also a lot of early action right now with also Elise here. Perkz should be running Cleanse in the mid lane when you're against Exhaust from Jace plus the Elise ganks. And he needs to be careful because Svenskeren can have some really good early ganks.
Yeah, I mean, the early Tahm Kench pick, protecting their later Ashe pickup as well. So that won't be able to deny the initiation. But look at this. Definitely a lot of pick potential. This should be a really explosive early game as we're talking about.
Should be a lot of fun. And I always like seeing when teams play comps a little bit differently. The fact that you've got a tank top on one side, a non-tank on the other, Stoneborn Pact coming in, some nerfs and some of the other tanks has made tank supports more frequent now in Professional League of Legends, which kind of gives you some slight other types of compositions. We were not seeing as much Rumble much earlier on in the year, so I'm always a fan of seeing that comps are built differently. There's different roles in each lane.
And I love the adaptations from day to day. Going from, you know, being beaten by Tahm Kench on the side of TSM to saying, you know what, let's just take a first rotation. We want this champion.
I mean, it's the first Tahm Kench of the year here for Biofrost. It's Smithy's most played. He's played none of it. Like, we know that guy plays a champion. You mentioned it being a takeaway, but it's Biofrost's first Tahm Kench of the year. Seems worth bringing out in arguably their most important game of the year. They're facing Europe now. The pride of North America is on their shoulders, and they're down 1-3. They can't drop a lot more games and make it into the top 4. North America had a Pool 1 seed at Worlds last year. You lose your Pool 1 seed if you do not make top 4 here. G2 knew that pain themselves. They got drawn to the Rocks Tigers group because they weren't a Pool 1 team. That hurt them. They ended up failing out in groups, and here G2 can redeem themselves there. But meanwhile, TSM have to live up to the CLG legacy, where not only did they get Pool 1, but they got top 2 at MSI last year, and TSM needs some significant improvement to get to that situation again. Redemption here for both these teams to get into the game.
An incredible amount of pride on the line for both of these teams as we head into the game. And again, the weight is on these junglers' shoulders. Trick, not necessarily the biggest Lee Sin. And Svenskeren as well, the Elise isn't the main champion that you go to with him, but both of them are early game jungle champions.
And I really want to talk about why Lee Sin for Trick has not really been the best match if you look at the EU LCS. Early game, he's fine. He can obviously pull off the ganks, he can make plays. Problem for him is mid to late game, he rarely is the man in the front, looking for that engage with Lee Sin, looking to catch that one guy in a fight. Think back to some of the biggest Lee Sin moments we've seen, you know, the beautiful insects that you secures your late game team fight into a Baron. We don't see that from Trick very often, and that's why he's not preferred this champion.
He's only had 5 games on it all year. It's his 6th most played jungler. This is not his style. It is a takeaway.
Luckily for them in this matchup, you know, G2 do have a beefier front line with Expect on the Gragas. Could be the one to start up the plays and have, you know, Trick follow up.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where Syndra as well, if she gets a good start, with so many squishy members on the side of TSM, like that is one full combo once she's a little bit fit, and that's a kill. Not running Cleanse though from Perk's side. I want to see if he gets punished by Svenskeren for this.
Also, no early invades for offensive warding, but look at the defensive ward there from TSM as well, covering on their blue side as Sven does start off on the Raptors, and both of them will have the standard Raptors starts with no shenanigans early on.
No shenanigans up for them. Right now, looking at the bot lane as TSM have the early push. I'm generally going to give that edge to Ashe as the longer range. And a nice AoE on volley. And right now, only 1 CS missed right now for the AD carry of Wild Turtle. And we'll see if Sven can get the rest of it under his turret as well. As early push goes to TSM, and they can maybe keep that pressure up.
Yeah, the early push always means very little when the wave is pushing this much, because by the time you get level 2, the enemy dual lane is already waiting on the tower for the minion waves to show up, and you don't really get to chunk them too much other than a few Qs from Bifrost right here.
It's reasonably well pushed, but it's going to thin out pretty quickly here.
And meanwhile, remember to the point of champion select here, TSM drafting a lot of this early game. They're the ones that are going to look to push the tempo. On top, they have Hanser pushing in with the Rumble, with his Flame Spitter. It's going to be AoEing. And so there's a lot of early moves already taking place. The deep wards start to come through.
It's one of the reasons that TSM were pushing so hard in the bottom lane. It lines up Ashe with the Hawk Shot to hit multiple camps, We just saw it fly out from Wild Turtle. And Biofrost snuck in and put down a ward in the jungle of G2. Try and find Trick.
Exactly. These 3 wards of TSM are enough to come up with the expected jungle route of Trick for the early game here. And that should give Sven a bit more confidence.
I like the check there from Trick in case Sven was hiding in there. Because right now G2 Esports actually don't really know where Lease is on the map. They don't have any deep wards on their own. Trick obviously is spotted on the bottom side. Pretty hard for him to make anything happen right now. And let's see if a potential counter gank can happen.
Well, they do know the Lee Sin is on the bot side right now. Sven's going to get the bottom side Scuttle Crab. He knows the top one's available, but no rush with the Lee Sin at the side of the map. It looks like it's going to be an early recall now. Sven backing with a good 700 gold, can easily get his tracking smite as well as a control ward, and he'll go from there.
Exactly. What I would do for Sven, since he just got a bunch of vision coverage on the bottom side river, you can have Bjergsen hug the bottom side. He can go up to the top, maybe lane gank for Hanser, be around for a counter gank. Elise is very potent. If Lee Sin tries to offensively gank one of those lanes that's shoving up, then Elise can hit a cocoon from a rush or a fog of war.
Obviously, perfect world for Trick here. The junglers don't gank anything before level 6. Elise obviously is the champion that tends to be forced into the snowball.
And look at
lane.
Trick as well is hovering behind the mid lane for Perks here. They're expecting a bit more aggression, around Bjergsen. That's why he's waiting here in defense, basically.
This mid lane matchup is actually very interesting. Syndra will have control of the lane. Jace doesn't really destroy anyone in the lane phase. But once Jace hits like 6-7, he gets a bit of AD under his belt. If you land 1 or 2 big long-range hits with the Shock Blast, then suddenly you actually start forcing Syndra to play very defensive. But it is mainly built around pressure from Elise.
I wonder if Sven lost a little bit of track of Trick right there because the Gromp is up and uncontestable, and he didn't go for the steal. I don't know if they weren't aware that Gromp wasn't taken, but it is a camp he could have gotten away. Trick, though, going to get it now himself, and Sven is back into his own jungle, so no counter-jungling to be had. And some of this could be Sven realizing that he's been punished for so much counter-jungling before that he's just playing a more passive game.
I think what it is, both junglers right now are heavily favoring the counter gank setups. Neither of them are really feeling confident to go for the first offensive move, it looks like. And to be said, both of these junglers are 2 of the most scrutinized junglers of the entire tournament that we have here. So that actually does have an effect on player mentality and the play style that does come through.
Well, Trick spotted going through the Scuttle Crab. Perks could have babysit him as well. Of course, Bjergsen can call that Perks went to the top side. And it's going to be junglers on the other sides of the map from one another. Looks like some good landing out of G2's bot lane, though. They've gotten the push back for themselves. First recall has come through with double longswords, and it was temporarily a minion farm lead, though Turtle back in lane is equalizing that.
This is a really nice recall for Lucian. Double longsword and a dagger to just a recurve bow on the side of Ashe here. So the volley, obviously for Wild Turtle, will do a little bit less damage, but his auto attacks, because of the extra bonus damage on recurve bow, is still pretty good if he gets the Q proc.
Yeah, for what it's worth, those are the same gold worth of items. They're both 1,000 gold what they built. Just Zen wants the raw AD because obviously how Lucian works. But I agree that as far as that's concerned, it is a better power spike. Double longsword feels good on Lucian.
Yeah, it's always the thing about laning, it's so hard to sit there and land multiple auto attacks. It's so often like a quick trade of abilities, and that's why Lucian obviously is a strong champion once he gets a few levels under his belt, and with the Braum passive on his side, if G2 plays on bot, they can maybe do something.
And we're seeing the first, offensive move of a jungler here as Trick goes for Hanser.
Level 5, great knockback into the Q's going to land. Hanser's going to flash, get out of range. Here comes the ward, have to follow through, but not enough damage now. And meanwhile, again, into the mid lane. Perks has already burned ult earlier on against Bjergsen, but is getting away with Ghost.
They can't chase him up into the top side because of the gank that Trick just pulled off, so TSM have to be careful.
Gets found out. Equalizer comes down for a bit of damage to this one. Recall's over, looks for a bit more. Can they knock down Perks? The Cocoon's going to land. They're going to get the first blood, and it goes to Sven Vindication from the earlier days.
Hanser with the level 6 walked down and joined with his ulti. Expect already left.
Expect had full health after that gank on the top side. I'm very curious to look at the replay and see his route. He did not join the rest of his team to try and get them out.
Yeah, I think G2 Esports just did not expect Hanser to actually still be around with ulti. They thought it was just a 2-for-2. That's why they went for the fight against no flash Elise, no flash on Jace. Miscommunication on top side, and TSM with the first blood.
Yeah, you really have to question what went wrong with the coordination there from Expect on this. Gragas will have to track him afterwards on the minimap. Anyways, let's take a look at the gank that was going on in mid lane, simultaneous to the top lane pressure. Bjergsen starting it off there with the slow from his exhaust.
Yeah, everything right now is just fine for G2. They can back away, they don't have to take a fight. They're clearly not expecting Hanser to actually ulti over the wall, and of course Expect is far away.
He just guessed wrong on the route they were going to take. He thought he was going to cut TSM off on the river, but turns out they were going through the jungle, and it's completely wrong.
Yeah, it did not place himself in defense of Perkz, and they do pay the price. That is just one kill, but First Blood definitely a big momentum swing here for TSM, as this is the team that we're looking to push the tempo a little bit more.
Very big First Blood, considering the fact Hunter just lost his flash on top side. Trick obviously didn't have ulti for that actual gank. Otherwise, could have probably picked up a kill.
700 gold lead. TSM up that First Blood plus assist, as well as a little bit of farm overall. Zerker Greaves early in for Wild Turtle. It's pretty common we've been seeing very high attack speed and high movement speed builds out of bot laners. Now Trick has jumped on Cocoons, gonna turn into all the damage they need, and finally Svenskeren back in the form he was last year. Actually getting a couple of good ganks off.
I mean, right now, G2 Esports just don't have any vision in the enemy jungle, so Svenskeren just came around the corner. Trick standing there killing a ward.
G2 have to be very careful. This is a snowbally comp from TSM. They have a lot of mobility and a lot of pick potential. Haunts are making a good roam down the river, but it is warded up by G2, so they can act accordingly and back off.
And I think right there, we just saw the main thing. Oh, she's team mid. Oh, never mind.
No, it's fine.
Happen. But the main problem for Trick in this tournament is that he plays extremely cocky. Like, he always just kind of stays a little bit too far forward. He's like, okay, I can stay here and kill this ward. It's fine. I don't need vision of the enemy jungler. It's okay. Oh, he's here. I'm dead. And it's happened in multiple games, both on Nunu, on Ivern. It's happened right now here in Lee Sin. And it's some of those very easy kills for the other team to pick off that can really benefit the other team.
Definitely something you would look for more of TSM to try and pry open is around this mid lane. They have so many, long-range abilities that they can actually bring with roams from their side lanes to bring extra pressure and actually attack Perkz.
That was one. Hit another one, and you have a Hexdrinker on the side of Jace.
Big chunk
Nearly
there.
popped it. If that did about 20 more damage, they would have popped Hexdrinker, and that major cooldown could have opened up Perkz for the repeat ulti kill. Not going to happen here, though, and it's going to be a recall out of Yerkes. Now look at this trade in the bot lane. Going to be a quick chomp, and they're going to keep Wild Turtle safe. 2-level lead on that bot laner right now over his support, and all's well.
Yeah, I actually do expect TSM to use their bottom lane ultimates more for mid lane pressure than actually in the bottom lane starting off ganks or anything like that, and trying to use the Ash Arrow to further pry open this point of power that they're trying to get.
Again, we have to remember Perkz not running cleanse. Against a lot of the CC from TSM, like one missed position from him or one really good arrow, he's gone.
Yep. And speaking of Perkz, though, there's a lot of anti-synergy on the TSM side or I should say counter picks on the TSM side to deal with the Syndra. Tom Kench, we know, is one of the crucial ones who's so good at just chomping someone out of the unleashed power. Elise can repel it as well. So there's two just kit-based counters to dodge out some of Perk's primary targets. They're not going to be available.
Now, they have been able to track Sven for a little bit here, though, for G2. Let's see what Trick does with it, because they know that he's going for an invade on the blue quadrant. Himself, they've got a decent amount of wards around Dragon, and this is the thing for G2. Even though they are, losing quite a lot of momentum early on in the game, they have far more vision around this Drake, around this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, we have to also remember that with the boots on Wild Turtle, Sven will get his Blade of the Rune Kings first. Once that is completed, you can actually really start making plays around the bottom side. Like, you have all the tools you need. You have a Lee Sin, you have a Braum. Just connect on a Tom Kench. You don't actually have to kill the Ashe. And with that damage power spike, it should be enough for G2 to actually try and snowball one of these sides here, because they know Gragas will get pushed in the top lane. They know Syndra and Jace will just kind of push each other or farm versus each other in the mid lane. Bot lane is where I'm looking for that next play.
We'll see the bot lane play happens. G2 have been winning through Sven when they have taken these games over, and certainly 1,200 gold is far from insurmountable. G2's wins have largely been comebacks this tournament so far anyway. We'll see if they can make that happen. Look at this, Biofrost and Sven maybe looking for a play on the bot side, maybe walking into Trick here, or vice versa. Gonna check into the bait, but here's all the stuns! And playing with respect or not, it might be too little too late. Ward hops away with the kick away. And he does barely survive with his life, but that is Trick losing a lot.
Yeah, Trick able to kick Biofrost out there and be able to escape down to Mithy. Very close call, and even though they don't get the kill, your loss of pressure when your jungler is that low is pretty big.
Here's thinks he can take a good trade here into Perkz. Perkz blowing the ghost because he was afraid of dying actually in the all-in. Actually takes a shock blast too.
And that mid pressure, we keep talking about not getting kills, but getting huge pressure off of health chunks. TSM should be able to get this Dragon. They knew they just got the jungler down, and then Bjergsen just took down Perkz in the mid lane low enough to force recalls.
Yeah, we talked about how G2 had like set up vision on the bottom side just like a minute ago. That's all gone right now. It's pure defensive vision on the side of G2. TSM now controls the river. They got the Dragon. This makes it much harder now for this bottom lane with Sven's Blade of the Rune King to actually make a play. But you don't actually know where Svenskeren is on the map.
Oh. Doesn't go get the stop of the recall. Yeah,
Smart
okay.
play.
Great. Good job here. A little bit of bot lane pressure, and I do want to see if that bot lane pile drive can come through. The hard CC certainly available. There's a lot of burst damage out up for G2 as well. Of course, bursting through a Tom Kench support is hard. And so far, no offensive moves yet for G2.
With so much focus, you know, on the first item completions here for the bottom lane, and Sven on this Lucian being able to get his Blade of the Rune King, Hanser, large CS lead over expect has resulted in an early Leandri's completion. And this Rumble ultimate could be very impactful as both of the top laners do have teleports available.
See what happens. Hanser a little bit low and going to take even more damage from expect. Lane pressure is here. Both junglers near the top side of the map, but Trick gonna wait to kill Wolves, maybe Gromp afterwards, and no ganks yet. And
just as you talk about G2's bottom side vision expiring, TSM's top side vision has expired for the most part as well. So Hanser right now is just wanting to push this one last wave with his single ward of defense before he's able to retreat.
Yeah, teams are just trading vision all the time. It's like, now it's my turn to place my vision. I have about a minute's time to make a play with it. If I don't, well then I should expect the other team to take over. That's what you see in the bottom side now, where it's back in G2's favor. They've been pushing the bottom lane. This bot lane tower now is down about 50% HP. Definitely a lane for him to play around, but you have to look at these. Svenskeren has got 2 kills already, and he's outperformed Trick here in the early game.
Well, he's only 500 gold up, despite being up 700 gold worth of kills. So Trick has gotten some farm back at the very least. But here's TSM roaming through. Biofrost maybe looking for an ult to get a flank. But the mid laners haven't playing defensively. Good ward play right there. No damage coming through.
Yeah, Mithy actually gives away that there is a ward there by firing that Q over. Bjergsen taking another ultimate. Does not pop the Hex Drinker, though.
Yeah, still not doing enough damage for that. Bjergsen has been tanky enough to withstand the early brunt of the damage. Has yet to go on cooldown this game. TSM's looking for the play. Mithy killing a ward into the face of, ooh, a nice juke right there. Gets away from some of it. Nice knock up onto one. Here comes the chase in for G2 looking for Biofrost. Force the flash out. Not quite a range for the stun, but the chase is there. And the satchel puts him over the wall. And blue buff on the side of TSM tanking the Sven ulti. The spike fight's going to go to Svenskeren. Maybe important to more to come. And Trick going to go for his second death here. 3-0, the kill going through the Biofrost.
Also, every time, even look at the minimap, Hanser was roaming down as well to get in range for his Rumble ultimate. These are dangerous moves, you know, for G2 to make, and they do get punished.
Yeah, G2 has that easy play of, let's just push bot lane and take that tower. But they opt into another fight right here, and they chase. They got a flash from Biofrost, who just said, that's fine. And then once they get into that blue buff, I love to turn around from TSM. They know Lee Sin is alone. Let's just lock him down.
It does feel like Trick is feeling the pressure, you know, on his shoulders here, and he's the one that actually continues this chase after they get away.
Yeah, right here, you're fine. You can actually just step away, but they go for that play. Now Trick is caught here. Let's see if he's trying to get out. Maybe
he can't. He ward-hopped forward already, and he has no flash. Okay. There's no way out for Trick.
Just caught in there after the blast cone obviously shoots him into that blue buff pit as well, and
yeah,
it's one of those plays again where it feels like TSM are just quicker with the calls of like, oh, this guy's now overextended. Let's actually turn around and kill her. And G2 seems to just be yelling like, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yeah, but unfortunately, no Rhines this game, so yelling let's go over and over, not part of the vocabulary here. Let's see what they can get out of this one, though, as Perkz is still keeping his farm up in a decent spot, plus 14 over Bjergsen despite his earlier death, so that's a couple of positive points. Bot lane up 9 as well, so the bottom side of the map is winning the lanes, but it's still TSM winning the game.
It's actually been Perkz all split long winning his lane. He calls it his lane kingdom. Actually walked up to all the casters and said, please call it lane kingdom for me.
I was wondering for so long where that came from, because you repeated it every game.
It just came from him because he was like, I'm always winning with like 10, 15, 12, whatever it is, CS, and I have pressure in my lane, so it's my lane kingdom now in Europe. And Bjergsen, he's just here to visit.
I like that. You guys are open to your casting suggestions for the terminology.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Perkz quotes, there was an interview, I think, a day ago where he's like, after MSI, they're going to call Faker mini Perkz. It was as a joke, of course. He's aware
A joke that's been made before as well.
Yeah, sure. You know, you try to clap Faker, that doesn't happen either. All these players think they can handle him, but not happening just yet. Now, Mithy on the wrong side of this fight does have Flack. He's going to die too quickly, though. Sven getting his third kill of the game. Sven Skarn, I should say. Of course, there are two players with a similar name in this one, but TSM 4-0, giving up nothing here against G2.
So 4 kills now. Sven Skarn been part of all 4 of them, and every single time it's Cocoon landing, and then it's just CC follow-up and damage from TSM.
And again, it just seems like the prep's so much better here for TSM. The Drake is coming up in 45 seconds, so you know what they were going for. They're going for this vision in preparation for the next Drake spawn, but the coordination from G2 is not there. They're not able, to bring enough members at the same time to allow him to get those wards down.
Here we go, pressure on the bot side. Cocoon going to go a bit wide. Here's a shock blast, and the rest of TSM, 4 members strong down in this lane as Hanser holds on to the top. First turret gold going to be going through, and TSM gets it, still shutting out G2 in this game, in the lead now almost 4,000.
It's like we've seen this before from G2 Esport at MSI. Get caught early game, fall behind, and then have to rely on trying scaling and full late game. But they don't have a protected Sven comp this time around. They have a comp that's going to rely on very open 5-on-5 team fights where 4 out of 5 members can easily die if you get caught.
Exactly. Their late game does no longer look like a bunch of shields for Sven to keep him safe. What it does look like is a strong front line that they will have to rely on with good use of their crowd control to split TSM up and get picks, to get back into the game that way. Right now, sneaky Drake take here from Trick. Should be able to slip in and get it, but teleport comes through.
A bit of a fight. Flashes are available. Here's Sven with a lot of damage on the Biofrost. They can't see him enough, so the shield comes in. There's the damage still going to come through, but the Equalizer coming back to turn it around. And Mithy going to get burned for 1. 2 kills picked up, though. 2 for 2, Sven. Next up on the chopping block now, Bjergsen dangerously low. Hextrigger pops the chase for Wild Turn. He's got a Redbox, he's got a kill. And it's a double here for the bot lane, or a double for the top as well. It's only expect left alive. 2 pair. TSM plus 2 in the fight.
Hanser teleporting on that bottom lane ward, able to get in behind, and he finally gets to bring his Rumble team fighting to the party here, getting multiple members of G2 with that ultimate and allowing TSM to come in with the rest of the damage.
And that was such a good early teleport from him. Expect joined way later and only got to use his ulti at the very end for some sort of disengage. Really nice setup here. Let's see it again. So Dragon going down in favor of G2, but then early TP, as you can see at the bottom here of the screen from Hanser, and you can see a very late one coming from Gragas.
And G2 never saw Hanser, so they didn't know to spread out. So that's why he got such a good, almost 4-man ultimate there. And Turtle had an easy flank here to come in and help him out for the extra kills.
It was actually an unintentional save by Sven Skarn. He actually took the longer duration Braum ult stun. Yeah. They almost CC chained Biofrost. It was a quarter second in between, and because it was a shorter Braum stun, because it was a second target hit, it actually saved his life. He got to pop the shield before the Syndra stun came through. Accidental, but still important for him.
With those kills from that fight for Hanser, Voidstaff now completed, 20 minutes into the game. He is insanely strong right now. Whenever we get the next fight, rank to ult, he's already ready for him. He's been there for a while. TSM just needs to find another fight as quickly as possible.
Exactly, and they're coming up on more secure defenses for their team fight. And Biofrost is rushing that Locket, which really adds a lot of durability to this team that is going to have to spread out. And it's going to have people trading and using the Tom Kenchel to pick the vulnerable targets out. Once you get that Locket, it provides so much more security for the team fight. Yeah, nice sneaky steal there from Expect.
All right, well, maybe they can get the comeback. 3,500, large but not insurmountable here, the deficit for G2. They did take that earlier Ocean Drake. Maybe they can stay on the map a bit longer here with this one. The time will still tell. As you mentioned, TSM looking for the next fight as soon as possible because of that Hanser power spike. And there's the attempt. Got to cut off the retreat. But first go the other way and still clear the wave. Pretty big miss.
Yeah, this now buys a bit of time for G2 to kind of say, okay, no Rumble ulti. We're going to be fine for at least a minute and a half, or we maybe can try and make a play. When you play Lucian, you want to put Lucian on the side lane. He's a very strong AD carry when it comes to skirmishing, 1v1, 2v2. Braum next to him as a support adds to that power as well. So it's going to be Perks holding mid with wave clear, and then it's going to be Sven and Mithy looking for, some pressure on the side.
Exactly. They need to have this pressure culminate in an outer turret take. There's a lot of gold still standing here, for G2. The bottom turret extremely weak. However, it's dangerous for them to move up because we mentioned this team comp of TSM, the long-range Rumble ultimates, the Ash Arrow, the Elise, lots of pick potential. So that's why TSM are feeling very comfortable about the control they have on the map.
Yeah, that's why it really hurts G2 that they had these fights early on when they were actually in a position to just take that tower without having to really fight for it. They chased in, they died as a blue buff, they then died in the river right after it. And all these small fights and picks from Svenskeren specifically is the big reason for why TSM are now sitting 4,000 gold ahead.
And they took kind of a gamble, really, giving Svenskeren an early game jungler. Someone who has had twice as many deaths pre-15 as any other jungler in this tournament. He had been over-aggressive in invading. They say, it's okay, we trust you, pick another early game champion. This time, the fights have worked. Maybe he's been less aggressive, but the fights have paid off.
And it was very clear the alteration in playstyle for him. Completely counter gank oriented, completely farming his own jungle for the opening and focusing on vision until they get an early alert of Trick. And then he was able to go punish.
Yeah, we actually just saw him walk in, place a ward, and then leave.
Exactly.
Not stay around, not, fish for anything. Smart adaptation from him, and obviously one of the adaptations that's easier to make if you're an aggressive player to get told to
just stop fighting.
Yeah, just be a little bit more passive. That's a change you can make. If there's problems with your communication, like on G2 side, that's hard to change.
And the important thing there too is when you're telling an aggressive player, to chill out or whatever, or relax, not go for these ganks, it's not that he doesn't do anything then with that time. Svenskeren was still accomplishing, minion kills on his camps. He was still going for vision. It just wasn't as dangerous.
And so far, the danger has been only on G2's side. All they got in all game was these 2 kills in a fight they lost 4-2 in the first place. And for as bad of a tournament that TSM's been having, North America always does seem to step up against Europe. Their record post MSI last year in games is 5-2.
It's true.
It's not the most insane record, but for as much flack as NA gets, they do step up when it's like, guys, we're playing G2. Can we try a little bit in this one? And it has seemed to work right now. G2 and TSM looking to end the first round robin at 2-3 if the game keeps going this way.
Yeah, because we have G2 Esports, there's 0-4 against CLG internationally, 0-2 at MSI, 0-2 at Worlds. Splice lost to TSM, 0-2 as well. It's not great for Europe if you look at the last year and a half in terms of EU versus NA.
There was some IEM revenge. There's a little bit of that.
A little bit of that, that's true. A little bit. And then you guys didn't even show up this year.
Yeah, see?
Smart, you couldn't lose then.
Much like TSM in this tournament until now. And now they are doing well against G2 and hoping they can close this one out. G2 looking to turn it back around.
And again, the way they're looking to turn it back around, we've got to look at the tools available to G2. They do have the VPR front line, and they're looking to get one of those really good either Syndra stuns to start off or Gragas ultimates.
Gonna get a fight at Hansa 15, so no rank 3 ulti just yet. Mithy just learned why you don't want to play against bad Jason. Let's see.
Takes several stuns, and the tank is one who likes to take the damage, flashes out, still dies to the equalizer. Stayed in way too long. Redemption means nothing, and as G2 just simply routed. Trick likely to not go for the steal here. It's going to be TSM's to pick up, despite the leash. Shouldn't be a major issue. That's Infernal Break for TSM.
Exactly. We talk about the ways that G2 would want to start it out to make their comeback. It's with crowd control. It's not with their support soaking up damage. The support, yeah, he is Braum. He is a melee support. He's more tanky than the ranged ones. However, not enough gold to be a tank yet, and he soaks up way too much. That player being off of the field allows TSM to move in and get the Drake.
Right, and if G2 really wants to fight, they need to use Gragas Lee Sin to start the fights. Gragas Lee Sin were behind the Braum. Top lane now, we talk about what Top Kench can do. Cross-mapping.
Gonna get behind the Syndra flash exhaust in. Tongue Lash gonna be there as well. The damage coming through. Syndra's gonna die!
Oh.
And Biofrost saves Bjergsen's life from the turret shot.
So that was made to look more epic by Bio waiting for the whole Syndra ultimate to damage ulti, and then Tongue, eating him up after the tower shot is about to hit him. He could have ate him.
That's how you make a montage, though. Come on, you gotta make it look a little bit fancy.
It was good. I was on the edge of my seat.
To give him credit, there is a tight time frame where Bjergsen's the only damage output there. If you eat him too early, he's like, you gave away my kill!
It's true.
But I mean, I agree. It could have been cleaner, but at least it worked out, and Bjergsen's able to recall safely. But TSM 10-2 up a Drake, up 2 turrets, 6,000 gold, and now the top lane siege. G2's duo lane. Trio lane as Trick comes in for the nice one. That was beautifully played. The exhaust is on a Wild Turtle. Not long for the world. Kill picks up. Goes to Sven for the trade on a Trick. Not terrible for TSM. We'll see if they can get more equalizers on. Sven's going to run, but they should be okay as well.
Well, Bjergsen is on the way, though.
I think they're too far.
Never mind.
Yeah.
However, they can use that momentum in this minion wave to get the turret. So TSM, they do, get the counter kill as well as objective afterwards.
Here we go, counter kill, and turret number 3. The outers are all broken. 6,500 now the gold lead for TSM, and it's getting farther and farther out of reach. And it's not like Sven is playing Twitch or Kog'Maw with 7 shields in the team. The Lucian is not going to take over the same way that other champions would.
So this is a play on Wild Turtle. The problem is, 27 minutes in, if you don't actually have full pressure on the map, the enemy team will respond when you go for these kind of plays. And you can see how TSM were actually nearby and just walked in and traded 1-for-1.
Exactly, and that's the whole reason that Wild Turtle used both of his summoners there to survive longer. You know, he was going to go down for that kill, but he took G2 more time up in that turret. Haunter pulls out the teleport, and they buy time for the roam to come in.
Yeah, forced Trick to keep taking turret dagger for the entire time. Of course, he had used his safeguard to ward hop, giving him no shield and putting the cooldown at 12 seconds, and so no way out for him. G2 still looking for some way back in.
And we have to honestly go all the way back to the pick and ban phase and the Iron ban from G2 into first pick Lee Sin. You could have banned the Lee Sin yourself, so you removed it from Svenskeren. If you weren't too comfortable playing it, Trick is 0-4 in this game, has been caught multiple times, and we've only seen one play. That was the one we just saw top.
Yeah. There definitely has been a lot of focus on the junglers, especially in that draft phase, and actually TSM, I believe, have 100% Iron bans against them thus far in the tournament, as that has been one of the other champions that Svenskeren also has had success on. Trick and Svenskeren, both big players of that champ.
Interesting to note, I kind of want to pose this thought, is Svenskeren having a good game because Trick is screwing up severely, or is Sven finding another champion he can actually play and do well on?
Well, there are multiple steps to it, right? We've gone over the attempts to sort of curb the invades early for Sven and focus more on counter ganks than counter jungling and the more vision-oriented approach. And so that he just was able to set up that vision line and wait for Trick to come in.
Yeah, I think Svenskeren here has mechanically executed everything that was thrown at him. So whenever Trick was actually out of position or over chasing, the skill shot would land from Svenskeren. That would set up the kill. Like, there's so many of these small fights you see where someone gets out anyway, and it's like, oh, okay, something missed, the skill shot missed here or there, and that's why the guys survived. But every single time I feel like anyone is overextended on G2, they've been caught by CC, often by cocoons, and then they've died straight away. So I think mechanically Svenskeren has played really well.
As well as, the other aspect that we always mention is jungling works well off of pushing lanes and gives you more vision and more, area to work with. So TSM as a team, good change in focus there.
Absolutely the case. So TSM looking pretty good. Rapid fire cannon done for Sven. So 3-item Lucian here for G2. Still, it's a lot to cut through. Thankfully for him, there's only one semi-tank, and it's Biofrost who's gotten more MR than armor here in the build, so maybe Sven can turn this on, but Perks, unfortunately, 1-3-1. No third major item just yet. Needs that Death Cap or Ludens first. Now,
with no flash on Wild Turtle, Lee Sin, Gragas with flashes on the side of G2, if there was ever a chance for them to actually start a fight with these two guys and get the enemy carry, it's right now near this Baron here.
And if they were to go for that, G2 would need to bring all members at the start of the fight. They can't wait for Expect to channel his teleport to come in. G2 cannot afford to have a reactive team fight at the moment. If they're going to go for something, they have to have some vision or catch someone out of position.
Yeah, again, that's a really important thing to highlight. G2 are not running this kite comp we have seen time and time again this tournament. They're running an engaged composition. But if your players can't engage, well, then it falls flat on the face. So we're looking at Expect, we're looking at Trick. To start this fight here, Wild Turtle could be the target. Baron is still where TSM are baiting around, but they're going top lane.
Yeah, and just to highlight for TSM, they are the ones with so much more threat right now with all of the pick potential and have done a good job using that vision.
For the ulti, only going to tag the one. Balfrost eats up Wild Turtle to keep him safe. Here comes the dive in the back line, kicking in Bjergsen. Trick in the back, a nice equalizer to buy some time. Trick is dead first, and the team is able to disengage. Bjergsen staying alive, the 1-for-0 so far. Mithy forced to run low on HP, and TSM gets out.
Right there, G2 looked for the engage, but they didn't go for Wild Turtle. First, we saw early Devour from Biofrost, but when he spat him back out, it was actually Bjergsen with Plastic got knocked back. Now Expect might get caught.
Ooh, jump on in, a little bit of damage to the barrels. Here comes the chase through with the slows and the fire on the top side as well. There's the first kill into Expect. A trade kill into Hanser, 1-for-1. Biofrost next up, Sven needs to go off in this fight. Here comes the flash and then Minty with the exhaust in, the trade in, looking for a bit of damage from Perks, and Bjergsen just takes him down. The double kill actually for Svenskeren. Only one alive for G2, 3 survive from TSM.
Bjergsen stays alive, another one team fight here by TSM. Everything was thrown here by G2 Esports. All flashes were used in that fight as well.
Bjergsen is getting so much mileage out of this Hex Shrinker, both solo laners as well as the extra ultimate coming through there, and he barely survives.
But we want to look at that fight again now, because I actually really like the early engage from Mithy to force Devour from Bifrost. Let's see once we actually get the replay if we can notice it. But then the follow-up engage failed. Ended up being, though, a very close back and forth fight here. Bjergsen just staying alive in the end. Another Infernal for TSM, though. They've been controlling the Dragons.
Not quite in range. Good smite.
Pretty big rewards there for slim margins on the victory in the team fight.
This is really good now from Mithy, so it forces the Devour early. This is a no flash Ashe. Expect over the wall, ultis, and sorry, it's Trick actually kicking back Bjergsen here. Wild Turtle just standing right next to the Jace without flash. Why is he not your target? That is an instant kill on the Ashe. You saw how Bjergsen could flash out of the fight, and then he stayed alive, and we're actually still able to fight here after.
Exactly. You have to go over the cooldowns before you engage the team fight so everyone's on the same page. Here we go and see Haunter flashing over. He Zonius at the same time that Bio was trying to go for a flash Devour. Biofrost looked like he was going to try and save Haunter out of that situation, but they doubled up on their defensive cooldowns.
And also Mithy flashing for Wild Turtle when Sven were actually looking at Bjergsen right there, so they kind of split up the AD carry and support, meaning they don't kill any of them. In the end, though, the target selection from G2 not good enough, and also good kiting from TSM, and fantastic turnaround with Bjergsen in the end.
It's worth pointing out, though, that even though Turtle wasn't the one who was attacked, he didn't do much damage anyway. It was Haunter doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and with that equalizer could be getting another one there. Mithy's going to be dropping for that one. Haunter, his 5th kill of the game, death cap already completed. That is a huge rumble, belting out tons of damage, and here comes the redemption heal. 5v4 to continue.
Spec still on the side right now, but 5 members alive for the North American team. Full HP and most of the guys as well. And as soon as Syndra lands a stun and thinks about the ulti, then Bifrost is dancing next to them being like, nah, 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 I'm gonna devour him.
Perkz actually almost got a good combo there onto Wild Turtle, but he didn't fully commit just because he sees the Tahm Kench there.
Of course, Hexdrinker for Wild Turtle helps. The Phantom Dancer was his first Zeal item. Hurricane came afterwards, so certainly some defensive builds out of him. And here comes the Baron attempt. Only one dead. Mithy won't be part of this fight, and it's just down way too fast. They belt it down, and now Biofrost with a slow end of Perkz looking for the damage to knock that one through, but they can't quite land the CC. Good fancy beat out of Perkz, but still, a Baron for nothing's good for TSM.
Yeah, honestly, the Baron was kind of the only thing we were waiting for right now, because we were 34 minutes into the game without a Baron being taken yet, because it's just been like fights around the top side. But now Baron is over on the side of TSM. They can actually start now pushing in towards the base of G2 Esports. G2 tried this before. When Baron gets taken, they hide in this blue buff brush right here, or at least in the jungle, and they hope someone walks by to take the bot lane wave. They find one.
Chase on in, slows are there, Mithy's in this one, and it's going to be Knights out for Haunter. A lot of CC, remember they get the kill now. Is there going to be much of a re-engage? 5v4 in this one, but the health bars are low. Trick almost dead. Expect chunked out, and TSM still in the chase, but not going too greedy for the kills. They realize they could lose the game if they go a little bit too hard, and they won't go for it.
You can see they were making the call to go push the minion wave here. It looks like they're going to get this top turret. It's very low, so they should have plenty of time to finish up and at least get some gold, out of their Baron buff. Really good, pick off there from G2 though, to kind of curb a lot of the pressure that TSM wanted to output with this Baron buff.
One highlight of the game for G2 Esports was the Fnatic Death Brush they just managed to set up and get a kill. Everything else has been in favor of TSM all game long, 35 minutes in.
70% of G2's kills courtesy of Fnatic and their pedigree in the European LCS. It's a tough road ahead, though. G2 still have yet to find anything that's been net positive for them.
Meanwhile, TSM, let's revisit the criticisms that we have had of this team, especially at this tournament. Number one was especially the jungle problems. We've been over that. But number two was the game plan in the mid game. After you get past the early jungle routes, TSM, they have been very, very focused with this lead and have been able to push it quickly.
TSM hoping to push this lead a bit further. 40 minutes, maybe around the time they try to end this game. 3.5 till that mark comes in. Baron buff lasting for 1.5, of course, right now. And we'll see Turtle right now manicuring the bot lane wave, not pushing too fast. He's waiting for the team to show up. Once they've all arrived, then the wave goes down. Doesn't want to waste the mini wave without teammates around. And as the minions and the wards fall, the turret's under fire, and that's going to be dropped as well. G2 know better than to fight for that. It would have died regardless. G2 hopes that the Baron buff can time out in this next minute without losing much more. TSM hope to crack an inhibitor turret before that does happen.
Looking just at items and comparing them against each other, we always have to do that in the late game. Hansa right now with a 3k gold advantage over expect. You can see that in the items as well. 4 fully completed. This tower is melting. So is Wild Turtle though.
Yeah, he's a bit low, but Redemption's going to keep him okay, and there's still the threat of Devour to keep him all right. And now TSM taking maybe a bit more damage than they wanted to. That siege might just be stymied here. 40 seconds still on Baron buff. We'll see what else they can get.
Yeah, they're giving Wild Turtle the entire minion wave there to try and lifesteal off of, so he is going to be able to replenish his health pool, and TSM should be able to keep up pressure with this Baron buff. It's one of the best things, you know, especially don't have the mid laner come in and clear out all the minions. Your AD carry back to full health.
Nice to have right there. Nice little stun. Good damage to expect down to one quarter of his health lost. So that's going to be the last wave. TSM are going to lose Baron buff. They can play for Elder in 30 seconds. They've got plenty of control to do so.
Yeah, that's again one of the very good things for TSM. They're not really in a hurry, just because of 3 dragons on their side, 2 being Infernal, just adding extra scaling. If you then pick up an Elder Drake, because you have the vision control, you have the setup around it, you force G2 to run in and kind of face check. And we already talked about how G2 Esports comp needs to engage in order to properly win fights. But you can't engage if you can't actually see the enemy in front of you. How are you going to flank on Lee Sin or Gragas if you are coming late to the party?
And how are you going to get that vision when you're 10,000 gold down? 2 Infernal Drakes and an Earth Drake for TSM. Pretty much the best ones to roll here, and it's going to be an Elder on top of it.
So pretend it's 3 Infernal Drakes and 1.5 Mountain Drakes. It's going to be a lot of damage, not only in the team fight, but to the opposing structures as well. TSM with an uncontestable Elder Dragon are set up with all the tools they could need to close this one out, end the first round robin 2 and 3, hope for redemption in the back half of the group stage, and more importantly, get a win over Europe.
That, of course, is very important. But obviously the 2 and 3 tying G2 Esports right there. So you have like Gigabyte Marines, Flash Rolls, TSM, and of course G2 kind of fighting for those 2 spots in the top 4 as well, where WE and SKT is sitting as well.
Well, I also want to kind of to make less of a joke about beating Europe, though, is the head-to-head will
that part is
matter.
important, though.
These are the 2 teams that are looking to be 4 and 5 in the group stage. Now, many things can happen still, but coming in, this was the 4 and 5 team.
Yeah, I was going to say, jumping in, this is why there was so much, you know, into action here when people are trying to rank the teams coming into MSI. I was like, yes, it is SKT at the top. Below that, you know, the variation is very big game to game from all of these teams. So every single win you get against one of those, you know, sort of middle 4, really, really means a lot for your standings and moving towards.
Uh-oh, there we go. There's the repel. That was crucial for Svenskar, and stays alive. Gets a quick devour from Valfrost as well. Still plenty of time, though, on the Elder Dragon. We'll see if they can make more of this happen. Big split push coming through as Bjergsen went to the mid lane. That turret clearly close to dead, but they'll have to wait for one more wave.
Should just be a matter of time before any of these towers break here, but TSM are respecting the fact that Svenskar is low, and there is hard engage on the side of G2.
Yeah.
G2 is just hiding it very well, saving it for that one fight later.
It is interesting, actually. I always like talking about the different elemental drakes, because if this were magically a bunch of ocean drakes instead, TSM maybe gets to keep sieging because of the regen, and he's healthy enough that they think it's maybe going to be a possibility. Of course, the Infernals help them win team fights, and the Mountain had helped them take down the Baron and whatnot. Different strokes for the different drakes, but in this case, TSM without the regen that G2 had gotten with the ocean drake that they had managed to sneak, that means that siege has to stop.
Pretty important that both the mid and bottom turrets are heavily weakened here already by TSM. So G2 do not have a lot of time to continue to defend these 2. TSM prepping the minion waves and moving in to try and take down that final blow to actually open up the base. They just have to worry about these hard CC chains from G2.
As long as they can play around that, devour or repel the follow-up damage, TSM should be okay, but it certainly has stalled a little bit. 11,000 gold lead. It's still not yet max items in everyone, so while Hanser, Bjergsen, and to a certain degree Svenskar are kind of done scaling, there's still a lot of room to grow for G2.
TSM are clearly waiting for the Baron to deliver that final blow to the inhibitor turrets. Win-win situation here. They have plenty of wards to go for a pick with all the true vision.
All right, looking like they do want to fight this. Arrow's going to land on the mid. These stuns not going to land from Perks. Ku's not going to hit anything either. And it's going to be a disengage. Baron will regen.
Yeah, right now, none of the minion waves are actually pushing in favor of TSM, at least what G2 needs to respect it, so they can actually keep hovering around here. TSM are just tanking the Baron.
Yeah, Turtles at half. They use the redemption on both sides.
Trick still around the wall, and that controller is not dying, so TSM just taking damage from the Baron right now. Shockless gets perks to 1/4 HP. Expected Mythy in the front, but the shield is down now. But they find to re-engage. Now the vision is gone. TSM going to re-engage with this one. Here comes the culling. Good damage on Bjergsen, down to half HP. Turtle. And actually a very late lock, but they catch back to the front line. He gets nothing for the engage, though. Equal from the backside, and there's the Devour. It's going to deliver them a front line and a kill. Greg is just barely able to body some away, but TSM run from the top side of the map, hoping to take down some of the base as G2 are stuck recalling in the jungle.
That was one of the worst Gragas engages I've ever seen.
Baron was doing so much damage to TSM that it was almost, you know, putting a good position for G2 to make a move. But
they had such a good opening.
That was, yeah, exactly. That was one of the best ones they could hope for, but definitely a big failure there. And Hanser cut off the entire backline of G2.
And Sven had the HP to go back into the mid lane. So for the Baron bait, G2 are rewarded with a turret kill and more time to scale. Bjergsen and Hanser aren't going to buy anything else. Those two are no longer getting stronger.
You can just tell how nervous these teams are in the matchup. You know, how much the extra added weight of Europe versus NA puts on it.
They're going as fast as they can. Hanser does have teleport. He's got a ward to jump to. Sven is only now aware that it's coming in. Can he get the steal? He's stolen away before, and he's not gonna. Sven gets it, but here comes the fight. This is crucial. They kick Eternal. They fight him. No, he's gone. 1 for 0. Trick injured. He's running away and staying alive. Stun on Hanser. Can they find more? Sven injured as well. The slow is going to land. Here's the equalizer. Finds Mythy, but not going to find the kill onto him. Expect staying alive as well. But can Hanser get the kill? Bjergsen wants it. Shot blast not going to land though.
Oh,
they're going to clear away the wave. G2 get a kill and the Baron and the safe reset.
They just picked up Baron. They rushed it. They knew Hanser was bot lane. They wanted to force his teleport.
It was such a late TP too. They knew.
Super late. And it was obviously, you know, that 50-50 smite and everything. But at this point, when you're this far down, you just have to go for it.
50-50 are good odds for the team down 8,000 gold. I will always take a coin flip when I'm that team.
G2 finally decisive here, and they force a huge play.
Early smite by Sven actually got it at 1069.
And I want to see it. The ulti from Rumble is on cooldown for about 5-6 seconds more, so he couldn't use it in the Baron pit. This actually means G2 are staying alive despite being cornered.
And let me highlight Trick. His Lee Sin here. You talked about one of the big reasons he doesn't pick it is for the big late game plays. He got Turtle into the middle of the team to win them this team fight victory after the Baron. Huge play there from Trick.
So we've been talking about the what ifs if TSM had closed out this game. 2-3, 1-0 in the head-to-head over G2. Maybe they make top 4. If G2 get this one, they are 3-2. They're just securely in the top 3 at this point. You expect Flashwolves to drop to SKT later on, and they're in prime position to make that top 4 and get a pool 1 seed back for Europe, the one they lost last year because of G2 at MSI. And they can take it away and they can give it back.
But G2 can't keep getting away with this. They fall behind every single game they play.
But if they can do it, they can do it. Team WE got here because of comeback wins throughout the Chinese LPL playoffs. G2 had dominated Europe the entire year, to be fair, and they've remained kings for the last 18 months or so. 12 months, whatever. But regardless, they have now put themselves in a position to come back in again. The gold difference stops mattering as much. Max items are here for most of these players now. There's half an item for half of G2. The gold almost the same. Drakes matter. Drakes matter.
Definitely matter. Like, we can just slow down very quickly because, as you just said now, full items very soon on both sides. That doesn't mean the game is now suddenly won by G2 Esports. Like, one lost team fight and then your entire base is gone.
There are some critical ultimates to keep track of here. You know, the Ashe Arrow. The front line from G2 has to make sure that neither Perks or Sven are on the receiving end of that arrow. And it should be an easy job to do. They've got a lot of beef on that front line, multiple Guardian Angels. They have to watch out for those openings.
No flashes on the carries on TSM. That is extremely important when you look at the Gragas Lee Sin on the side of G2. Flashes up in a few seconds for Expect. Last time he used it to smack headfirst into Tam Kench. Next fight, maybe he's getting a bit more.
Powerforce has actually put his Knight's Vow onto Wild Turtle, which I actually somewhat disagree with. Bjergsen has routinely done more damage, or even Hanser have done way more damage in the team fights. If Powerforce wants to tank stats by leeching from a carry, I actually think Wild Turtle's the wrong choice here, but is the choice he's gone for as far as his paired carry. That's a nice vow. Look to see a Cocoon on to expect decent damage there. Gragas body slams away. And again, still has Guardian Angel, but oh, Turtle! Nearly gets taken out. Dangerously low. Trick looking for a play, not quite going to get it, but that is lock it down. Biofrost used the shield to keep him alive. And this is going to be bot lane turret dead with the Baron buff.
Yeah, we talked about how this is not a protected Sven comp in the late game, but he's still been stepping up whenever he needed to on this Lucian. Yeah, nice shock blast from Bjergsen, but that's a tower falling now.
They have to wait for Turtle to get back from the fountain before TSM can do anything.
Massive wave top lane as well, pushing into the tower. Mid lane pushing as well for G2. TSM might look to try and fight, but they don't really run a lot of hard engage.
Baron buff down and Svenskar down to half HP. Expect goes to the front line. Great pick up there. Keeps Turtle safe, but Hanser's low. Gets chunked a little bit. Gets the shield back in. Back on towards Expect. Now down to half HP. See if they can get anything else. G2 wanting to re-engage. Trick has GA, and Trick does have the ulti available. No flash for about 30 seconds. Sven gets away from the Cocoon. 2 more hits will kill this inhibitor off. And they're going to go for it. 1 more shot. There it is. And hit down.
That Devour, though, from Biofrost was spot on. That was a body slam flash from Expect, and he instantly reacted. If Gragas can actually hit both Tahm Kench and the carry, then obviously Tahm Kench can't instantly Devour and actually save Wild Turtle. We'll probably be able to before the ulti will hit after the changes to Gragas some time ago. But still, quick Devour, kept Wild Turtle healthy, still inhib down. Luckily, this late in the game, it's actually very easy to kill the super minion in 1 wave or 1 lane. Gets a little bit tricky when it's 3 lanes, but that's not the case right now.
Yeah, plenty of good AoE for TSM regardless. Hanser is great at killing off super minions with that high magic damage rumble. Elder Dragon spawning in 15 seconds.
That's going to be a fight. That's going to be game.
Sven's there first to play for it.
Vision
G2 wins. They got an open base.
Crucial here as they're looking for the poke damage.
Done a Trick. Decent damage, actually. At least in at 80% here. Heading back. Control wards there.
Look at G2. Sven and Perks are running mid.
They're going for mid. They're splitting up TSM. TSM not going to realize until right now. They're like, oh, guys, do we fight this or do we rush back to our base?
Force it.
They're saying that they're going to force this. Now, Trick should probably not go for a steal, not give away the kill, but middle inhibitor turret is dead. The inhibitor is gone as well. Now, can they get a fight here in the 5v3 where they lose their base first? G2 are still pushing for the Nexus in the bottom left corner of your screen. They're still rushing for the base, and TSM has to get back there to defend it, or they're going to lose the game. And G2 looks like they have enough time. Hanser trying to stop them, but back inside the base. It's the Nexus getting hit. Sven wants in. Perk's still hitting it. This could be it, but Pierre gets back onto that, and they've taken down Sven as well. TSM Nexus alive. They're going for Expect. GA is popped. 2 alive. 2 alive for G2. TSM is taking them down, and it's time to go back into the base. Trick's top side. Trick, I think, has to go for the base. I don't think he can defend a 1v5.
Now, let's see here. 50 seconds on almost everyone from G2
He's waiting.
Esports.
Trick is going to reach into the Ocean Drake, and he's going to come back for the Nexus.
He's going in, but Hanser is still there. He has a GA.
Here he tries.
He can get back up and try to finish it.
Here he goes.
They see him.
They see him now. Here comes Hanser. Does he have the damage? He cues in for a bit of movement. He kicks him back. Trick needs 5 autos. The flash fist, the harpoon. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here comes Tahm Kench, and they're going to stop him. TSM's pushing the top side. 20-second respawns. Can they get him? They're going to get the damage. They get him just in time. 50 minutes in. 15-second death timers. In they go. TSM still against the clock. It's going to be close. I think they have it, though. With the 2 HP Nexus, it's going to be it. The Nexus turret number 2 is down. The Nexus going to fall in TSM. In the strangest game I have cast. Take the win over G2.
And now, everyone will go back. Look at the Nexus and look at if someone could have gotten 1 or 2 more hits on it.
The answer is always yes.
It's almost always yes.
Every base race has something where you just made the wrong choice when you had a quarter second in a situation you've never been in before. But it comes out as TSM making the better choices in a game they were in control of from minute 2. And G2 almost made the comeback happen in 2 different ways.
Up until 45 minutes when G2 start going decisive. They make their first decisive move is that Baron, and they got so much off of it, almost all the way to the Nexus.
It's, oh my God. It's always those decisions where if they make it, if they kill the Nexus, you praise them for saying that was the correct call. That was beautiful. When they don't get the Nexus, you're like, guys, you were winning fights. Did you have to risk it all? But they were so close. And we can't forget what happened the first 35 minutes of this game. they were losing everywhere and everything. They were down Drakes, towers, barons, absolutely everything.
They got the next down to about 380 HP as Trick died the second time to the Guardian Angel. 380 HP out of a max of 5,500. Less than 10% left on that Nexus. You know there had to have been optimizations that G2 could have made and gotten that one back. And there's one for the entire game. It's a 50-minute game.
There's actually, I'm just adding more to it because it's crazy. TP was still ready for Expect. I don't know if he had a chance to actually get in there as well without running in when they were rushing for it, but that's probably for the analysts to check out.
Yeah, but you're right. If he TPs into the Nexus instead of walking with the team.
I wonder.
That's 3 auto attacks right there. That's the Nexus.
There's too many seconds to look at in this game where, oh, they had 2 seconds to react. Haunter goes for the teleport top to start his